Hey, what's up? Andrew Kramer here for VideoCopilot.net, and welcome to another Evolution video tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at this title, and we're going to sort of recreate it from scratch. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to create a new composition, and we'll go ahead and use the NTSC DV preset, and we'll make it 10 seconds and choose OK. Of course, you can use your own preset, but this will just make things a little faster. Now I've imported the evolution effects, and I'll go ahead and toggle down to the textures, and we'll take the grayscale texture, and we'll start with number 14. I'm going to go ahead and drag that out, and I'm going to hit S and scale it down. You can also scale it down in the comp here. And then I'm going to take texture number 9 and drag that out as well. And again, I'll go ahead and scale that down. So kind of this funky looking piece of metal. And then I'm going to take the bottom texture, and I'm going to choose Effect, Blur, Fast Blur. And I want to kind of just blur it out, sort of make it look like an abstract background. And that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to take my top texture, toggle the switches, hit F4, and I'm going to change the transfer mode to overlay. And that's just going to sort of blend with the background a little bit better. And then I'm going to select the background layer, go ahead and solo it, and I'm going to choose Effect, Color Correction, Curves, and Effect, Color Correction, Hue and Saturation. And I'm going to go ahead and take the curves adjustment, just sort of darken the image, add some contrast a little bit. And I'll go to the hue and saturation, select colorize, and we'll just kind of go shift it to sort of a blue hue and desaturate it a little bit. And then I'll go and unsolo it. And so now it's starting to blend, and I'll take my top texture, we're going to scale it up just a little bit, move it just like that. Also, I'm going to take my texture, and I'm going to take the rotate tool, and I'm going to rotate it so that the brighter area kind of is right up here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more blur to it. So that's kind of what we're looking to get for right now. And then I'm going to create a new solid, and we'll make it black. Choose OK, make comp size, perfect. And then I'm going to come up to the ellipse tool, and I'll just double click on it. And then our mask pops up, we'll go down to the mask properties, and we're going to increase the feathering. And then we're going to change the mask mode to subtract. And then the layer now, just the mask layer, we're going to change that to color burn. Yeah, classic color burn. And then we'll bring the opacity down. You hit T, and we'll bring the opacity for the layer down just a bit. Now the next thing we'll do is go to our project window, go down to the flourishes, and we're going to take flourish number 10 and drag it out. And we can scale this down, hit S, and we can just scale it down a little bit. And we have this nice flourish, and we can kind of position this where we'd like. And then we'll go ahead and start colorizing it. I'm going to choose Effect, Generate Fill, and we'll just color it with a light blue. And then we'll choose Effect, Stylize Glow. And we can just play with this. We kind of just want it to have a nice glow, and that looks pretty good. We'll scale it up a little bit. Okay, now we'll go ahead and collapse all this. I'll take the text tool, go ahead and click in here, and we'll just type cool title. And I'm going to go to the character control here. You can click on this box. That brings up our characters, and I'm going to type in Arial Black. And that looks good. And I'll go ahead and scale this up. And then the other thing I can do is take the title and choose Effect, Generate ramp, and just kind of create a nice gradient down the image. And we'll go ahead and use a blue start point. So looks pretty good. We could probably tone it down a bit. And then we can do sort of a header. I'll go ahead and take this text, edit, duplicate, and I'll move it up. And we'll change this to just Arial. So it's kind of a thinner font. It's kind of nice to be able to do fonts that are the same, but use a different type. And that way, you can sort of read things a little bit better, because you can sort of see, okay, this is part of the same group and this is part of the same group because of the way the formatting is. So kind of a cool way to think about it. Also, we'll go and just change this to, this is a cool title. Yes, it is. Okay, so that kind of gets us kind of in the right direction. Now I'm going to go back to my project window. And I'm going to go to our bonus elements. And of course, you can check out the gallery page and look at all of these elements, at a glance. And I'll take particle number 1 and drag it out. And so we see we have some nice small particles. And I'll just scale this down so it fits. Now, the thing about the particles is they're only about 4 seconds long. What you can do is right-click, choose Interpret Footage Main. We get this dialog, and you can set it to loop because they loop perfectly. So we can set this to like 3, and now the clip will be 3 times the length and loop perfectly. So definitely something you want to take a look at. I'm going to select the particles and choose Effect, Color Correction, Curves, and I'm going to go to the alpha channel, so the transparency, because the particles are sort of semi-transparent. As you can see, they're not perfectly opaque, and that's because some of them are lighter than others. But using the alpha channel, we can boost that so that they're whiter for the most part. And then I'll choose Effect, Stylize, Glow, and we'll set this to alpha channel, which means bases the glow on the transparency. And we'll set it to the B color to say like a blue, and the inner color to like a lighter blue. And we'll change the glow intensity and the radius a little bit. So basically we have some glowing particles, pretty easy. I'm going to uncheck that. We'll change the transfer mode to add, and that way they kind of blend with the background a little bit nicer. So right now we have our cool title. We can of course animate these 2 elements in, but actually I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do something a little bit different with this particular title. I'm going to go ahead, hit F4. I'm going to take our particle layer, turn it into a 3D layer. To text, 3D, the flourish, 3D, and then I'm going to take our background, just these 2 background, the images, and we'll turn those into 3D. So the vignette or the mask, we're going to keep that as a 2D layer. And so what I'm going to do is create a new camera. And we'll use the 35mm preset. I'm going to choose OK. Now there's a couple of things we could do. What I'll do is hit P and I'll hit A. That brings up the position and the anchor point. And the anchor point is sort of what the camera is looking at, and the position is actually the position of the camera. We're going to go ahead and set a keyframe for both of these. And then let me zoom in here. We just want it to be right in the beginning, so about 1 second. Close that. And then I'll move to the beginning, and I'll take the camera control tool. I'm going to take the track camera tool, and we can just say we just move off the frame over this way, for example. And so the camera kind of moves into place. We can, move it even more than we have it currently. And then we can sort of reposition the element. So maybe we can, let's see, take our flourish, start it a little sooner so that it finishes sooner. And then I'm going to select these 2 keyframes and hit F9. And that way it sort of slows down as it finishes. Now, right now we're working at 30 frames per second. So if I want to preview this, I'm going to go to my frame rate. Make sure that's set to 30, and we'll skip 0 frames. And right now, half resolution looks pretty good. And if I play that back, I'll hit N, set my work area, and I'll hit 0. So that's going to start previewing our animation. And it's pretty quick, but right now we're just working on the camera move. You know, we're just trying to get the feel of the effect right. So what we could do instead is set the skip frame to 1. And so now it's going to render every other frame, which is going to be a lot quicker. You know, not that quick, but it's going to be a lot quicker, and you'll be able to get the idea of what the effect's going to look like without having to sit here all day and render it, because I'm sure you have better things to do, just as I do. For example, I've been playing this game of Monopoly for like 2 weeks, and does anyone ever finish a game of Monopoly? No, never. Because you know what happens? It's just like in real life. People are playing and, you know, someone starts winning. You know, someone starts taking the lead. They start getting all the railroads, and then they get the nice properties and stuff. But then the people who aren't doing very well, you know, the guys who keep landing on, you know, the boardwalk with 14 hotels, they're not doing so well. And of course, they're not as inspired to play the game. And so they quit, essentially taking their life in the terms of the game. And it just is depressing, you know, and I don't know how that game is so popular. Anyway, that's why most people just steal from the bank. It's kind of like a solution in real life, in fact. Okay, so right now our title kind of cuts off right here. So we'll just cheat. We'll take the, let's see, that texture. We'll take the rectangular mask tool. And I'm just going to kind of draw a mask around the edge of it. And then I'm going to take the mask properties and feather it out and set it to subtract. And so now we just sort of blend it in with the background, and that way you won't really tell what we've done. Now, to make this look a little bit cooler rather than, you know, working all this hard on a title that's only two-dimensional, we're going to go ahead and start playing with these 3D layers. So first things first, take these particles, we're going to move them forward, and again we'll scale it down. And so now we have these particles that kind of blend with the shot. Then I'll take the flourish and I'll move it forward, and I'll scale it down as well, and kind of just reposition it as if it were two-dimensional, but then like bring it forward so that when our camera move, you know, you can kind of see that it's actually 3D. And then we'll take our two titles, and again we'll move them forward. And we may want to scale them down. That's sort of what the original design looked like, so we'll go and keep that. And then you can go to, let's see, we have the active camera. You can go to the top view and sort of see what the layers are doing. Like here's the flourish. We can move it closer to the camera. This is probably the particles. Yep. And we have our text and our background. So I'll go back to the active camera, take our flourish, and we'll scale it down even more and just kind of move it up into place. And we could even say rotate the camera. I hit U, and that brings up the keyframes. And I'll just turn on the orientation. And then I'll just, let's see. I'll just rotate it. I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but set it to 270. And I don't know. You get the idea. Basically, do some fun stuff with the animation of the camera, and you know it'll just add to the effect. So this is looking pretty good, and I'm gonna go ahead and RAM preview it. So as you can see, we've created a very unique title, and I gotta say, it was pretty easy. A lot easier than playing Monopoly, you know. And the one thing I didn't say about the Monopoly game was actually I was playing by myself. So that's probably why it's been taking so long. I've been playing 4 different people, and it's frustrating. Well, I hope you found this tutorial useful. Definitely check out the other ones. There's a lot of little quick tips and cool things that I'm sure I'll be throwing into them all. So enjoy, and we'll see you next time.